In the enigmatic realm of mental health, similarities and contrasts intertwine, challenging comprehension. Discover the line between borderline personality disorder and narcissistic personality disorder. 1. Emotional roller coaster versus emotional vacuum. Picture this. With BPD, it's like they're strapped onto an emotional roller coaster that's going full speed. Seriously, it's crazy. One moment, they're high on life, feeling like they just hit the jackpot. But in a blink of an eye, they plummet into despair. Their emotions are all over the place, like a tornado wreaking havoc. Now let's switch gears. Ever been in a scorching desert? The emotional vacuum is like that, but instead of sand, it's emotions that are in short supply. Narcissists seem to live in this emotional wasteland. They rarely show vulnerability or empathy, like in a constant emotional drought. BPD takes you on a whirlwind ride, while NPD leaves you stranded in an emotional desert. It's like two different worlds, right? Just remember, navigating these complex personality disorders requires expert guidance. Don't hesitate to reach out for professional help. 2. Identity crisis versus grandiosity. BPD individuals have what's called an identity crisis. It means they might feel like their sense of self is everywhere. They struggle with knowing who they are and what they stand for. They have this constant inner battle, questioning their identity and values. So they might feel one way about themselves and suddenly feel completely different. On the other hand, narcissists are all about grandiosity. Fancy word, but it means they have this inflated and exaggerated sense of self-importance. They believe they are unique and better than others, deserving of all the attention and special treatment in the world. 3. Fear of abandonment versus sense of entitlement. People with BPD have this intense fear of being rejected or left behind by others. They're worried about abandonment, which can make them clingy and hold on tightly to their relationships. They might get anxious or upset at the thought of someone they care about leaving them. On the other hand, narcissists strongly believe they deserve to be admired and praised by everyone around them. They think they're unique and should receive special treatment like royalty, with everyone always giving them their full attention and loyalty. It's like they feel entitled to all the admiration in the world. 4. Intense relationships versus exploitative relationships. Folks with BPD tend to have relationships that are pretty rocky and all over the place. It's not easy for them to trust people. They're always afraid of rejection. So, their relationships can be a roller coaster ride. On the other hand, narcissists are experts at using others to get what they want. They'll manipulate and exploit people to achieve their own goals. They're good at putting themselves first. 5. Self-harm versus manipulation. People with borderline personality disorder, BPD, might be more likely to engage in self-harming behaviors. These could be things like cutting themselves or even thinking about ending their lives. Now, it's essential to know that these actions are usually a way for them to cope with the intense emotional pain they might be experiencing. Their emotions get too overwhelming, and they resort to self-harm as an outlet, even though it's unhealthy. On the other hand, people with narcissism tend to go in a different direction. They're all about maintaining their inflated sense of superiority and importance. To do that, they're more inclined to manipulate others. They want to control people and situations to make themselves look more powerful. It's not about dealing with emotional pain like BPD, but keeping their ego pumped. 6. Empathy, oversensitivity versus empathy deficiency. BPD folks tend to be what we call empathy oversensitive. It means they can be super sensitive to any slight feeling of rejection. Even small things can set them off, and they might overreact to emotional triggers. It's like their empathy dial is on the highest level. On the flip side, narcissists have empathy deficiency. In other words, they struggle with understanding or validating other people's feelings. Their empathy dial is way lower, or maybe even switched off entirely. They find it tough to put themselves in other people's shoes and grasp what they're going through emotionally. 7. Self-sabotage versus blame shifting. People with BPD sometimes engage in what we call self-sabotage. It's like they have these unresolved emotional issues, and instead of tackling them head-on, they do things that mess up their progress and success. It's like they've got this inner turmoil that keeps tripping them up. Conversely, narcissists are experts at avoiding taking responsibility for their actions. When something goes wrong, instead of owning up to their mistakes, they do something else entirely. Blame shift. They'll point the finger at someone else, making them the scapegoat, just to protect their delicate self-image. They can't handle being at fault, so they toss the blame elsewhere. 8. Awareness versus denial. People with BPD are usually pretty in touch with their emotions and struggles. They know something is up and are more open to getting help or admitting issues. It's like they're aware of their emotional rollercoaster. On the other hand, those with narcissistic personality disorder, NPD, have this fragile ego thing going on. They find it tough to accept or even see their flaws and shortcomings. Their ego puts up a barrier and blocks them from recognizing their imperfections. 9. Impulsive actions versus calculated actions. When people with BPD are going through emotional turmoil, they sometimes act impulsively. It's like they don't overthink before doing something. For example, they might go on crazy shopping sprees, have risky relationships or sex, or even abuse substances. It's their way of dealing with all the emotions they're feeling. On the other hand, narcissists are all about looking out for themselves. They tend to be more calculated and strategic in their actions. They plan things carefully to benefit themselves. It's like they always want to be on top and make sure everything revolves around them. 10. Sensitivity versus defensiveness. When people with BPD face criticism, they often have intense emotional reactions and fear rejection. It's like they take it to heart and feel hurt deep inside. Now, onto narcissistic personality disorder, NPD individuals. When they receive criticism, they don't take it lightly either, but their response is quite different. Instead of showing their vulnerable side like people with BPD, they tend to put up a defensive front. They want to protect this super important, grandiose image of themselves, so they react with arrogance to shield themselves from feeling bad. Remember, these are just some differences between borderline personality disorder and narcissism. If you or someone you know is dealing with these issues, seeking professional help for a proper diagnosis and treatment is essential. Understanding these conditions can help us develop empathy and support those struggling to navigate the complexities of their inner world. If you are interested in narcissism topics, subscribe to this channel for more. Click that bell icon to get notified of future uploads. Watch another helpful video over here.